The number one question that I got on my Amazon Oil Barrage video was, can this work on the Druid? More specifically, the Oracle Ascendancy. My answer was always that, yeah, I think that it can. I think it can work on any Ascendancy. Obviously, you just have to build your character differently. You're going to eventually have different defenses, different ways to generate power charges, different ways to scale your damage. So I finally got around to trying the Oracle, and yeah, it's really strong. In some ways, much stronger than the Amazon. In other ways, not quite as good in my opinion. So, upsides. The Oracle has insane damage. Just absurd. I mean, the Amazon damage was already really good. This just takes it to a whole nother level. So if you want to really destroy things, Oracle, I think, is the way to go. Now, it doesn't feel as fast. With that said, I've timed a lot of my maps, and I think map times are pretty similar to the Amazon. I think it just doesn't look as fast because you don't have all this attack speed and going all over the map with whirling slash. It's just a different way of movement. We have blink and pounce as our movement abilities with cooldown reduction. We also have movement speed on our boots, and we go into wolf form pretty consistently to get even more movement speed. So I think more than anything, it just looks different. It's not really much slower. Now the one downside is it's not as tanky, but the Amazon is one of the tankier ascendancies in the entire game. The Stalking Panther node allows you to just stack so much energy shield, deflection, and evasion all together. And this build isn't quite to that level. Like, with the Amazon, I felt like I could pretty much face tank anything in the game. This is still tanky. I'm not getting one shot, and overall, it feels really good. But you have to be a little bit more careful. With the Amazon, I feel like I could just kind of play like an idiot, and it didn't even matter. We still have over 6k energy shield. We have about 10,000 armor. Some of that armor is being applied to elemental damage. We have a really good energy shield recharge rate and a really nice start of energy shield recharge. That number is quite low as well. I also feel like there's a little bit less going on with this build, so I'd say that's probably a pro for some people. I didn't really have a problem with the gameplay loop of the Amazon, but I know there was a decent amount of buttons going on, and until you got used to the build, might have been a little bit daunting. With this, you pretty much are just pressing pounce, blink, which is your dash, and oil barrage for the most part. There's a little bit more in-depth stuff you're doing on bosses, which we'll talk about, but yeah, it's a little bit simpler to play, a little bit more straightforward. Alright, so I'm not going to go super in-depth on the build. This isn't really a build guide. I'm going to put one of those out hopefully in the next few days. So anything you need to reference from the prior video, there'll be more in-depth explanations on some of this stuff there. Try to keep this very budget, so we aren't running any of the crazy expensive lineage support gems for dealing damage. I am technically running Rigwald's Ferocity and Shred at the moment, which we'll talk about why here in a little bit. But this is like not necessary. We are not even dealing damage with Shred. You'll see why we're running it here in just a minute, but you can definitely drop it. It doesn't need to be ran. We're not running Garukans or Rakiatas. So that alone shaves, 150 to 200 divines off of the build, just not running those at all. Now, you definitely could. They're both very good, and I'm really actually not even scaling crit or investing in crit at all. But if you went that route, Garukans could be really good. So, quickly talk about what we're doing with the Oil Barrage. So we need power charges, and we're really scaling it with additional projectiles. So Oil Barrage will shotgun enemies. And we're getting potentially 6 additional projectiles from Salvo paired with Nova Projectiles 1. Now, the thing with Oil Barrage is it will snapshot the additional projectiles from Salvo for the entirety of the channel. So on single targets, you have 3 seals, 6 additional projectiles. The entire time you're channeling on a Pinnacle boss or Arbiter, you're going to have the additional projectiles that whole time. We're also running Fork and then Ricochet. Now, Ricochet reads 50% chance to chain an additional time from terrain. Most abilities, you need to hit a wall or something like that to get it to chain. With Oil Barrage, it is actually chaining off of the ground, making it extremely good for both AOE clear and single target. And then for the final gem, we are running Minion Pact 2. We have Wolves from our Pounce ability. We are a CI character, so we only have 1 health. And so basically, this will never kill your wolves. But yeah, they won't die from this, so it's relatively free, really good, more damage multiplier. Now, I would recommend if you are just mapping or doing Temple, to potentially run Rapid Attacks 2 here instead. That's going to speed up the initial animation of your Oil Barrage. It's going to make it feel a lot better while mapping. And then just switch to Minion Pack 2 when you're doing Pinnacle content. So let's talk about our movement setup. So we have Pounce and Blink with cooldown reduction. So Blink can actually socket at Zeri's Impatience for the 100% increased cooldown recovery rate without the downside. So every time you use this, you're going to get the cooldown recovery, but you are not going to take loss of life, mana, and energy shield. A lot of our damage scaling is going to come from Rage. We currently have 85 Rage, paired with Eternal Rage. This just makes sure that we are always topped off on Rage. And then also Berserk. So Berserk does have the downside of losing maximum life per Rage per second while not losing Rage. But if you're CI, you have 1 life. If you get 1 roll of life regen on gear, it basically takes care of all of the degen from this. So it will never kill you. So we're also pairing this with a node on the tree that gives us spell damage per point of rage. And that is paired with the Crown of Eyes helmet. Increases and reductions to spell damage also apply to attacks. So that allows us to double dip on damage from our rage. And then also, obviously, we can get other spell damage increases on the tree and potentially gear if we want to. So how are we getting power charges? So I'm actually running Vol's Protector. So 25% chance to gain a power charge on critical hit. Now we always crit because we're an Oracle. This is extremely good on this class. You don't have to invest in crit chance to make sure you have really high uptime on your power charges. And actually, this allows you to basically infinitely channel Oil Barrage as long as you have enemies to hit to regain power charges. Things aren't going to live long enough for that to really matter most of the time, but it's pretty cool that you're able to do that with this chest piece. Now, of course, a really high energy shield chest piece is probably going to be your best in slot here. You'd also go hybrid ES armor, and that would make you considerably tankier. But at that point, you do have to figure out your power charge generation. There is a node on the tree that gives you a power charge when you consume an elemental infusion. That was my original idea for the build. I was planning on consuming elemental infusions, potentially through like cast on crit, to generate my power charges. Didn't feel consistent enough for me, so I ended up going the Vol's Protector route, and this feels great to play. I think there is a avenue to go with that still. I would have to play around with it more. Obviously, you would end up with a tankier character because of it, but Vol's Protector is pretty good. It has decent energy shield and decent armor, and being a hybrid character both running ES and armor, it's really not a bad option here. Now, as far as Shred goes, so the main reason we're running Shred is to quickly generate power charges on a boss. Shred has really high attacks per second, so we're stacking a bunch of attack speed on Shred. That's why we're running the Rigwald's Ferocity, to quickly get power charges and get into our Oil Barrage to deal damage. So that's going to be on weapon set 1. On weapon set 2, we have Rend, and the main reason we're running Rend is to freeze and gain the buff, grants 50% of damage gained as lightning. So freezing, we're going to get Bater's Vengeance, which again, we're stacking a ton of rage, so this is going to give us a ton of damage gained as extra cold damage. The main thing we're doing with our weapon set 2, which again, that's where Rend is at, is getting skill effect duration. This is going to increase how long we have these buffs. I believe Bater's Vengeance is close to a minute, and again, I'm just trying to press less buttons, so the longer these are up, the less you have to actually even press Rend. I am running a Magi Talisman for 12 maximum rage. You could also run a Spiny Talisman for the additional crit if you want to try to go the stacking crit route. Then we are currently running Savage Fury, so you can still just put this on your weapon set 2 and gain this buff basically for free. So that's going to about wrap it up, guys. Like I said, I'm planning to have a build guide out over the next few days, hopefully. I want to play around with the character a little bit more and really dial everything in and make sure it's where I want it to be. And as always, there will be a planner in the pinned comment on this video. If you guys want to take a look at everything, I know we didn't go over the passive tree, but everything will be there for you. And yeah, if you were, somebody that saw the last video and liked the build and wanted to play Oil Barrage but didn't feel like leveling an Amazon, you already have an Oracle, well, here you go. Here's an option for you to play Oil Barrage if you want to. So anyways, thank you very much for watching, and I will see you next time.